Hey there, Al. Perhacs, author, creator, visionary behind the Mind Force method of high performance esoteric training. And this is the VIP for the surge, power surge, question and answer. Now, when in doubt, reroute. That's my phrase right now because my internet had some issues. And so I've had to record this outside of the normal parameters of having it on a live workshop. But I have gotten a lot of questions in regard to the three tectonic shifts, the power surge, and associated information. And the purpose of this session, which should last about an hour, we'll be going through those. So you've been to the surge workshop or you've viewed it, and hopefully you understand the concept of the three tectonic shifts. So we have the three major tectonic shifts, and those really are aligning the concepts of money, mindset, and vitality. And just as a recap, why do we have these? It's really, I call it financial, emotional, and physiological. And if you look at life, almost everything that we do in life falls in these three categories. Pretty much. Almost everything. Obviously, when you look at money, you look at financial, has everything to do with what's going on in our financial life. Job, business, whether you're in good financial shape, what's your prosperity consciousness, your abundance consciousness. This all falls into that money category. Emotion and mindset. Again, this is a varied group of interests. And I've gotten some really good feedback, right? With financial, let's stay on financial for a minute. Financial pain points. Stagnant income or revenue, right? You might be in a job and you have a stagnant income, or you have a business and you have stagnant revenue. And I get people talking to me saying, "Hey, I'm working hard, but my bank account isn't showing it. I've been stuck at the same level for years or months or years." And there's a solution to that. And I'll go into some of those solutions today. There's no way we have time to do it all, but I want you to think about that. Are you in a stagnant income or revenue situation? You can be stagnant in revenue and still be earning a good income, but your revenue is just at a peak, right? It's at a plateau, rather. Overwhelmed with money management. People earn decent money with taxes, investments, and expenses and spending, maybe too much. You're losing control. Is that you? If you had a pathway to get out of that, would you take it? Not only would you take it, but would you act on it? Would you put in the flight time? Fear of risk, and I'm going to cover this more in detail in just a moment. You want to scale your business or your career for that matter, but the fear of losing it all is paralyzing you. If that's you, just mark it down. If we were live, I'd say just type in the chat yes, but since we're not, we can't do that. But that's all right. I always learn when in doubt, reroute. So I allocated the time to do this, and we're going to do it. We're gonna make the best out of it. And so, under earning potential. Almost anyone I talk to feels like they're worth more, but they can't crack the code to get to that next level, to charge what they deserve, or to land big opportunities or jobs that they feel like they're deserving of. Those are big things. Some of you may be in sales, some of you may not be, But the fact of the matter is, how are you going to get through from where you're at to where you want to go? That's the big question. That's where myself can get involved with you as a coach or mentor, and we will work together on it in order to break through that situation. Now, some of you may not even understand what that would look like, and that's okay. Emotional mindset. What are some of the pain points there? Self doubt and imposter syndrome. You got wins, but you still feel like a fraud. You're waiting for somebody to call you out. I can't tell you how many professionals that I work with that have imposter syndrome. It's almost like, when are they going to find out that I'm not really that good at what I do? Whether you're, in business or whether you're in a job and you're like waiting for the shoe to drop. You have this inferiority complex about yourself, self-doubt, imposter syndrome. So it's so prevalent these days. And it's getting worse and worse because of everything that's going on in society. It's an emotional trauma, overthinking and paralysis. Maybe you're stuck in your head, second guessing every move that you're making instead of acting like a leader, the leader that you want to be. If that's you, mark it down. Think about that. Burnout from hustle. You're grinding 24/7, or so at least you feel like you are, to prove to yourself that you can do it, but you're really one step from crashing. Very common, very prevalent. It almost really it actually is a combination of the emotional and the physiological. And then lack of clarity. You got big goals, but no clear path to get there. You're spinning your wheels and you're getting nowhere. So many people like that. But here's the thing. It's recognizing that you're in the situation, that you have the dilemma, and then forging a pathway out of there. Now, that's why I'm here. And I can assist you in that endeavor if you'd like. And as I mentioned to you the other day, is we've got a program. It's called the Power Shift 12-week immersion. And you can get to the Power Shift 12-week immersion by very simply going to the website, which is mindforcemethod.com/powershift. Pretty simple. So mindforcemethod.com powershift. Go there and you can take a look at some of the options. I'll go into more of it in a little bit. But we need to flesh this out so that you really have a good grasp of it. And then some of the physiological pain points is chronic fatigue. You're exhausted. Coffee's your lifeline. You can't keep up with your ambitions anymore. And I see this happening even more so with the younger age groups, people in their 20s and 30s, even almost more so than 40s, 50s, and 60s, although it's prevalent there. Chronic fatigue. I have a solution for that. Poor health habits, late nights, junk food, no workouts. You're sabotaging your body. It's costing you focus. It's affecting the other shifts, but you're out of control. You have a stress overload as a result. Your heart's racing, sleep's a joke, and stress is killing your edge, and you can't seem to stop it. So what do you do? If that's you, then you need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. Because what I'm going to do is go into some things that you can immediately do, but I'm also going to offer some suggestions on what you are going to do. Here's the question you have to ask yourself. And again, this is almost like a cliche, but it's so true. If you keep doing what you're currently doing, what makes you think that you're going to get different results? I mean, that's a simple question. I mean, and that follows every one of these shifts. Think about it. If I stay on the track that I'm on right now, am I going to be better off in any given period of time? More than likely you won't. You have to make a shift. That's why I call it the surge, the power surge. And then we're talking about a power shift. That's why I call it power shift accelerated immersion, 12-week immersion. Because you've got to make a shift in your mentality, you got to make a shift in your physiology and in your finances. Now, again, some people are like, I work with a lot of people that are executives, doctors, attorneys. And so the money aspect in a lot of ways is settled. They've got money. But the other two are wrecking them. They're wrecking balls. Now, some of you are the exact opposite. You know, you don't have any money or you have a serious lack situation, and maybe your physical health is great, but maybe your mindset, your belief factor, your confidence, because you know they're all related. You know, we look at these patterns, right? Money, mindset, and vitality. They all intersect. And if you do not understand how each one is impacting you, then you're going to get into this continual situation where you're at right now. So what do? You've got to move from where you are, and you've got to start taking action immediately. I want to talk about something that I didn't get a chance to talk about the other day that I think is extremely important. And that's the risk. I call it the risk tolerance revolution. Embracing risk as a path to growth. And risk tolerance is really the ability to assess, accept, and navigate uncertainty in the pursuit of meaningful rewards. Anytime I work with somebody as a coach, one of the first questions I ask them is, where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of being a risk taker? A risk taker in terms of money, a risk taker in terms of relationships, risk taker in terms of your health. How much of what kind of risk taker are you? Are you a risk taker? And the answer that they give me back allows me to be able to coach them more powerfully. Are you a risk taker? Write that down. Yes, I'm not. No, I'm not. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 being your Elon Musk level. You may not even like Elon Musk, but it doesn't matter. He, in my mind, at least I can see, he's a tremendous risk taker. When he sold PayPal for like 100 million, he took that 100 million and immediately invested it into other opportunities to the point where he didn't even have money to pay rent, but he invested all that money. It's risk taker. He's willing to bet it all on the ideas and desires that he has. Now, you have to get that same concept. To what extent, I don't know, because I'm not inside of you. But if you and I were having a conversation, we could flesh it out. And the other thing is set up a conversation with me, because we can flesh things out, and it's part of the VIP package. So if you don't take advantage of it, you're foolish. You're a fool. And I'm sorry if it comes across the wrong way, but you can be led to, you lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But you've got to understand there's tools here that you can take advantage of. And I want you to take advantage of them, obviously. But let's talk about the energy transmutation in regards to this risk concept, because it's really quite extraordinary. You've got a fear to power conversion. We talked about fear the other day. There's real fear and there's fake fear. This is usually the fake fear. Reality manipulation. You've got to be able to manipulate reality. You've got to be able to force field expansion, expand that force field, and then you can create what I refer to as success acceleration, if that makes sense. To create an acceleration for your success. Okay. And I want you to really grasp that. Now, when it comes to risk, what is it that you need to do? There is the risk factor, the growth formula. Risk equals opportunity for growth. So, when I talk to you about the potential of doing some coaching, working with me, or working with anyone really, it's not just me. When I talk about you investing in yourself, that is a risk. It's an investment, but it's a risk, and that's what many of you are thinking. What's the risk of me working with you? Will I get and really, it's not really a risk of working with me. It's a risk because you don't believe you're going to get the results. Otherwise, you'd be signing up immediately. I want you to ask yourself that question. If this was free, would I do it? The fact that currently the Power Shift 12-week accelerated immersion, it's not free. Not by a long shot, but it's not super expensive either. It's a moderate investment. But it's a moderate enough investment that you're putting skin in the game, skin in your game. You see, every great achievement has a level of uncertainty. You have to embrace it as part of the process. And many of you are not embracing that risk factor. And you're never going to get further along. And that goes, again, this is in relation to all three of the tectonic shifts. Again, risk versus reward. Evaluate the potential benefits versus the consequences. Risk versus reward. Anytime you look at any kind of endeavor, you should look at that as risk versus reward, right? You put the risk on one side and you put the reward on the other, right? And you write down what the risks are, or the risk, and then the potential rewards. And see, once you become immersed in that reward, that's the mission. That's the thing that you're going after. That's the motivation that's going to cause that risk to get smaller and smaller. But it's that risk versus reward. What is the best possible outcome if you succeed? What's the worst if you fail? I'm going to be asking you questions all night. So get used to it, but write them down. There are a lot of writer downers. I don't come to these sessions not prepared to teach and to give you things that are intentional. I don't do anything that's not intentional. What is the best possible outcome if I can succeed? And what's the worst if I fail? So let's take the Power Shift 12 week immersion. Let's take a look at it. Because I got a lot of questions on that. So we might as well talk a little bit about that. Right? 12 weeks to 12 months of more power, vitality, and mindset domination. Coaching and mentoring to get you fast and reliable results. Well, from the other day, if you remember, the Power Shift 12-week immersion with coaching was 1997. It still is. What I've done to make it easier for people is I broke it up into 4 payments of $499.50. So essentially interest-free. So you could access the system to get the result and only have to invest $499 right now. And then you can pay it off over 4 months. That's to assist you. That's to mitigate the risk. Now, you also notice when you go to the page, mindforcemethod.com power shift, you'll notice that the 997 version, which is what I call the do-it-yourself version, which is there's no coaching whatsoever, that's sold out. You can't get it. So it's off the table. So the question I want you to think about, if this was free, would you do it? Most of you would. I would bet 99% of you would, because otherwise you wouldn't have signed up for the workshop. You wouldn't have called me on the phone. You wouldn't have emailed me back with questions. You just wouldn't have. But if it was free, you'd do it. You always have to take a look at the investment and say, I can make it free by making the investment worthwhile, if that makes sense. And it should. As you're going through it, it should make a lot of sense. You have to shift your perspective. View risk as a challenge, not as a threat. So when you look at something, and again, I'm using my program as an example because many of you are, I can feel the processing in your mind. You're thinking about it, but you're saying the investment seems steeper than what I'm used to spending. Because many of you have invested, but you've invested very, very small. Books, courses, maybe $100 here, a couple $100 there. That's fine. And many of you have also invested more substantial money, but you got burned. Somebody took your money and didn't really give you value for it. And I understand it. I get it. I mean, that's the way I am too. So just so you know, it's $1,997. I'm just going to leave this up here. Or $499.50 times 4 months. You can do that right now. You can go to the page. You can sign up. I'd suggest you watch the rest of this first. But that will be limited. And then I'll be raising the price back up. Now, why do I raise it and then lower it? It's an incentive to get new people into the system so that they can see that reward. Very simple. I don't make any bones about it, of what I do and how I position things. And I want you to be the same way. When you look at opportunities, you've got to look at them from that perspective. What's the value that I'm getting? And the only way that even has a value to you, this right here, is if there's a reward that you want, whether it's under the vitality, the emotion, the mindset, or the money. Now, if you want to earn more money, or do you have a generator of money? That's the other thing. If you're just working in a regular job, although I'll tell you a story I told the other day on the workshop. I coached the guy for 2 years, and when he started with me, he worked in a warehouse, so he didn't have a trajectory that you would think is really that great. But because through the coaching and the mentoring, we were able to lift him out of that situation and get him into a situation where he's a successful business owner today. Is that going to happen for everybody? No. But if you have the right coach, they can assist you to get to where you want to go. And this all comes back to this risk factor. The risk factor is what I want you to focus on, but not just with what I'm talking about with my situation, my offer for you. Because you can take it or not. Doesn't matter to me. Because you can start small. Begin with manageable risks to build your confidence. Success with smaller risks strengthens your ability to handle larger ones. In fact, if you did the $499 option, if at the end of 30 days you felt like you didn't want to proceed to the next, you could cancel. Pretty simple stuff. But that's starting small. Prepare strategically. The more you prepare, the less daunting the risk will feel. Research, plan, and rehearse to minimize unnecessary uncertainty. These are your risk factors. As you listen to what I'm mentioning to you, you're going to have a deep understanding of how this risk affects you and how, even if you're not a risk taker now, that after listening to this, after focusing on it, you're going to become more of a risk taker, even if it is starting in a smaller aspect of the risk taking process. So, but there's other elements that you can use in order to propel yourself forward. And the reason I wanted to go into this risk factor is because it's really when I speak to people, they're always risk averse. They don't want to risk anything. They want to keep what they have. They don't want to reach out. And so my goal is to get you to start thinking outside that box and getting more and more involved in that possibility. So failure as a stepping stone. Failure doesn't mean the end, it's feedback. Analyze what didn't work, adjust, and try again. That's why I always say plan to review. When you work with me, we're going to have an accelerated game plan to get you where you want to go. We're going to do it in 2-week sprints. So every 2 weeks, we're going to have a sprint, and we're going to have a goal to reach within that 2 weeks, whether it is monetizing something, financial, mindset, or physiological. You want to lose 5 pounds in 2 weeks. We're going to do it. With my help, you're definitely going to do it. I can promise you that. The comfort zone fallacy. Staying comfortable often leads to missed opportunities. Are you comfortable? Write that down. Am I comfortable where I'm at right now? Or am I uncomfortable? And why is that? You want to push yourself to explore beyond your current limits. Everyone gets into a comfort zone, myself included. You have to push yourself out of the comfort zone in order to do something that's uncomfortable to get the rewards that you're looking for. Mitigate, don't avoid. Identify ways to reduce risks, such as gathering data, consulting experts, or testing ideas. So if you're in business, it's really looking at the risk. So let's say you're going into a marketing plan or a media plan, and it's several $1,000s. Well, how do you mitigate that risk? Well, just like it says there, you get experts to consult with. You learn how to test ideas first. And so instead of investing, a large amount of capital, you invest a small amount and see how it works out. You have to trust the process. You want to focus on the actions you can control rather than the outcomes. Now, this is so critical. This is one of the most critical factors is trusting your own process, whatever that might be. You work with me, I'm going to give you a very defined process. I'm going to give you something that you can attach to your entire life. And even after we're not working together, you still have it. That's why I always say that when you go through this system, it has a shelf life of forever. And this is one of the things I've always taught people over the years. I've always said to them, I keep looking down because I can see if this light's flashing for the microphone, is that I always taught people that I'm teaching you techniques, concepts, methods, right? But they're not my methods. I'm teaching them because they were taught to me from my instructors and people that I worked with. And I bring them over to you. When you learn them, then they're yours. They were never mine to begin with. I was just borrowing them, but I share them with you. Now they're yours. But that's trusting the process, focused on the actions. I'm retooling my Chi Power course right now, and I'm going through all the stuff, all the things, all my notes from years and years ago, 30 years ago, because I kept notes. I wrote it down. I have audio files, videos, all kind of things. And I got good at that because I was willing to trust the process, go through the work, put into flight time. Because guess what? You can always control your actions. You can't control the outcome. Now, if the actions, so much of the actions can control the outcome, because if you do this much, you're going to get this. Just like if you work out every single day at the gym, you don't really know the outcome. You can't really control it, but guess what? By doing that action every day, you're going to get stronger. There's no question you will be. Are you going to be stronger than the next guy? Maybe, maybe not. But you will see improvement. Because with consistent effort, the results will follow. Here's the challenge. And the reason why I only allow so many DIY clients for this is because I know most people won't do it. Do it yourself. I've been doing do it yourself for years with people, and it's a fragment of the amount of people that are successful that get my help. That's a reality. Most people, even if they invest $2,000, well, if they invest $2,000, it usually comes with some coaching, so there's a little bit more of a guarantee, right? Because they got coaching. Most people that do any of the courses that I provide, number one, they never finish them. And number two, they don't get the results because they don't put in a flight time. Now, when somebody coaches with me, they get results almost 100% of the time, just the way it is. And the last thing, you got to celebrate risk taking. Acknowledge and reward yourself for taking risks, regardless of the outcome. See, this reinforces the courage to embrace future challenges. Again, we're all putting this into a perspective of you taking a risk in order to get to that next best level for yourself. And to do that, we're taking a look at these three tectonic shifts and we're identifying where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, and then we're putting a game plan in order to make that happen. So again, focus. We want to focus on those things. So let me get. I went through what I wanted to get through as far as the risk factor, but let me answer some of the questions that I actually got from some of you. So someone said, what are the tectonic shifts? I already covered that. How did you discover this framework? Well, I discovered this framework because, as I'm developing over time, I realized that this method is broken up into 6 cylinders. Mindset, mindset, hypnotic influence, energy, which is qigong, qi power, all those types of things. Focus, which is meditation, and that focus could be esoteric, meditation, out-of-body experiences. I know some of you are like, well, that's pretty weird. Perception, intuition and awareness, psychic awareness. Manifestation, what we've been talking about, prosperity consciousness, abundance creation, and then healing. So these 6 pillars are, as I started to create these pillars over time, based on my experience, I realized these all fit together perfectly. I also started isolating down the fact that even within inside these pillars, there's these 3 tectonic shifts that are usually almost part of all these. So that's how I came up with it. It was just a matter of, as I'm dealing with people years and years and years, understanding what works, what doesn't work. Next question. How much time should I expect to commit each week get results. Actually, that's not that's not the question. Is how do you determine which of the three shifts, money, mindset, or vitality, is someone's current limiting factor? We talked about that with the scale of 1 to 10, but you already know subconsciously. Our subconscious mind knows everything, and so when I mentioned that to you, when I said to you which one of those pillars is affecting you the most, or I'm sorry, which one of those shifts is affecting you the most, you'll usually come back and say, you automatically know, oh, it's money, it's emotion, it's physiological. You already know that. Your subconscious is already feeding you that. But when you think about it logically, like we just did a little while ago, you should have even a better idea of where you're at. And so obviously if you sit down with me, you set up a call with me and you say, today on this call, let's iron out which shift I need to work on, we could do that. That's a valuable session. So the next question, why is it necessary to address all three shifts simultaneously rather than focusing on one area at a time? That's a great question, because most people focus on one. They're got a financial course, or they got a mindset course, or they have a course to get in good shape, or just like I have chi power or quantum qigong, physical energy, vitality. Why would you focus on all three? Well, it's interesting because in the Power Shift 12-week accelerated immersion, we're really doing all of them, but we are focusing. We are focusing on one. So, but the thing is that because they intersect, you are going to be working on all of them at the same time, even though your financial might be the focus. That's why I say that's why you want to mark down number one focus, 2 and 3. So if money is your number one and physiology is number 3, that must mean that you're in pretty good shape in vitality wise, health wise, body wise, and that your emotions are pretty much in check. Good confidence, good mindset, but you need to earn more money, right? So that's the one that we're going to focus on. So if we looked at it from a standpoint of, let's say, how much time are you going to spend, right? Using this as the example, we would probably focus 60% on the money, and then we would go 20 and 20. Actually, we'd probably go 30 and 10. Because if you've got your vitality worked out, we're pretty good there. Right? So that's how we would work it out. That's going to give you your time. And of course, when you're working with me, we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna put together a game plan to get you to that point, or whichever one you're working on. See, I don't have to be an expert in every one of them. I don't have to have 6-pack abs to teach you how to get 6-pack abs. I showed you my trainer from before, right? He knew how to do it. Of course, I know how to do it too, because I used to have the 6-pack abs when I was a teenager. I don't anymore, and I'm not upset about that. But maybe I'll do it again someday. Who knows? You never know. Can you explain more about how the integration effect works between the three shifts? Another great question. And we've discussed this already, but the integration is that as you start developing each one, as we take that top one at 60% and we start developing that money, you're going to notice that as you develop your mindset as well, it's going to assist in that money. And that as you get more money or prosperity consciousness, whatever the issue is, maybe it's not earning more money, maybe it's saving more money. And so first 30 days, we set up a savings plan and we say, you're going to stack this much cash. You're going to store the cash. You're not going to spend it. Not at all. Maybe that's the game plan. And your mindset's going to get involved in that as one. Physically, you're going to be energized because now you're starting to see some results. So again, they are perfect integrations with one another, for sure. So the next question is, how are these shifts different from other personal development frameworks like Tony Robbins, six human needs or Maslow's hierarchy. Well, they work very similarly, and certainly those are two experts, right? Tony Robbins is the king daddy of them all. You know, when it comes to personal development, he's the most recognized person on the planet when it comes to that. So his methods are fantastic, and I would encourage you to read his books and audios and everything like that. He's got great methods. But what I've done is I've synchronized this from a perspective of three, like for instance, Tony's probably miles ahead of me financially in terms of the money concept because he's just got so much more of it. He's had more experience there. So I wouldn't go head to head with him on that. With the mindset, he might be there also. But when it comes to the energetics, there's no way he can hold a candle to me because he doesn't have the experience that I have. Now, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, I've got the energy. I can do this. Well, prove it to me. If you've got it, prove it. That's the stepping off point. And so that's the way you have to look at that. And if that's valuable to you, then I'm probably the right choice. If it's not valuable to you, then you go with somebody else. It's just the way it is. So the next question is, what does a typical 2-week precision micro mastery sprint look like day by day? This is a fantastic question because this is the essence of the system in terms of how we're going to make this happen. And I'm not afraid to share this with you. Some people would say, I'm not going to tell you my process because you'll take it and I'll use it and whatever, but I don't mind because I know that you probably won't get that good of results with it by yourself, number one. And number two, you won't be motivated enough to do it. So in a 2-week sprint, we pick something that you're going to focus on. Let's say it's the money. Let's say, using the example of the savings, you're earning X amount of money, you're going to save this much money. So the 2-week sprint is going to be, we're going to reverse engineer it. So if you need to save money, the first question is, how much money do you have saved right now in relation to how much you earn? And how can we magnify that? So in this case, we'll put together a game plan and we'll say, okay, what did you spend last month that you are kind of upset that you did? I spent this much. So that's going to be the number that we look to save in the same period of time. But see, it's more than just a savings plan. It's a mindset. It's understanding why you're doing it. I'm going to get you more excited about stacking the cash than spending the cash. You see, it's one of these concepts where you can stack the cash and then you have it. You can still spend it if you want, but it's there. You're stacking it, you're storing it. And when I say that, I mean you could be in a bank, could be in a box. I don't care where you put it. Bank would probably be better. But we'll come up with a game plan for the 2-week sprint, and then we do a plan, do, review. Plan, do, review is really what I say is a micro task, in that you're going to use this every day. Plan, do, review. You're going to plan out your day the night before or the early morning. We're usually going to start that plan out. I have some specific guidelines for it, which when you get involved with the Power Shift 12-week accelerated immersion, I'll show it. I'll share it with you. But enough to say that we're going to have a plan every day. We're going to execute every day. That's the do. And then at the end of the day, we're going to review. How did it go? Did I hit the KPIs, key performance index, that we were looking to do today? Now, we're not only going to do that daily, we're going to do that weekly. We're going to do that bi-weekly. So the 2-week sprint. So the 2-week sprint, we're going to say, what's the plan for the 2-week sprint? And then we're going to execute. We're going to review it. So we're going to review every day. We're going to review at the end of the week, and we're going to review at the end of 2 weeks. Now, to some of you, you're thinking, that seems like a lot of work. only takes 5 minutes to review the day. And I have a guidelines on how you do that quickly. But that's the 2 week sprint. Now, obviously, depending upon the complexity of what we're looking to do in those 2 weeks, will depend on exactly the extreme of this. We may have to change some things as we're going through it. Each 2 week sprint builds on one another. It's an amazing concept. Now, you can take this concept and work it right now. There's no question about it. You can find books on these types of concepts. I mean, I'm not the originator of a lot of these things because I've been taught them over the years. I've added my nuance to it and my mind force method into it. But a lot of times the concepts are not 100% mine for sure. The concept of the 12-week immersion really came from the 12-week year. There's actually several different 12-week year type books. And if you want to look at the 12-week year, look at that book. It's a great book. Go buy it, read it. And you'll see there's some very similar types of strategies in there that work very well. And I've used them. In fact, I've trained that corporately for companies, sales teams. It's phenomenal. I also have worked with a 90-day process as well. So those are the elements that are going to go into the 2 week sprint. And again, we're going to use that for either one. I mean, if it's a physical thing, what do we need to do in the next 2 weeks in order to help you lose that 5 pounds? What does that look like? Mindset. What do we need to, what kind of affirmations and self-talk and self-hypnosis do we need to do in the next 2 weeks to get you out of this framework of not being deserving? And we're going to put together a game plan to do that. So again, it really depends what you're doing. How much time should you expect to commit each week to get results from the program? It really depends on where you're at and which one you're looking at. I don't know until we plan it out. That's why you have me. We're going to plan it out and say, okay, what are we going to do here? What does this look like? Let's put it together. Let's put the meat on the bones and then plan to review. Now, when you work with me directly, you're getting my cell phone, you're getting my Facebook Messenger, you're getting my email. Many of you already have my email, but we're in constant communication, right? It only takes me a couple minutes to respond back to somebody. Doesn't mean that I'm going to chat with you all day long because, we're being effective here. We're not just chit-chatting, right? So how much time should you expect to commit? Like I said, we're going to plan out the 2 week sprint. That's going to could take 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe. Every morning you're going to plan out. It should take 5 minutes to do that. Execution is throughout the day, unless it's something specific. Whatever that is, we can map that out. So figure anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour per day. But again, you're working it in on your schedule. The reviews are done at the end of the day where you look at your schedule. Did I accomplish my mission? It doesn't have to be a full report. That's not what I'm looking for. The last thing I want to do is bog somebody down mentally with reports and things, because that doesn't help anyone. But when we're moving in an execution, now if I find that you're not executing and you're not planning or reviewing, then the question is, why not? What's going on? And what's the potential that's stopping you? Does that make sense? It should. And that's how these things work. How personalized is the program? Will I get guidance specific to my unique situation? Just covered that. What happens after the 12 weeks are complete? Is there ongoing support? That's a great question. The 12 weeks are designed. Now, remember, I say 12 weeks to 12 months because the 12 weeks is the system of the 12-week accelerated immersion and power shift. And so you're going to learn a lot in that 12 weeks. You're going to get the micro mastery emails every single day, every weekday. You won't get any on the weekends. And they're learning in and of itself. Those are some of the most phenomenal training emails that I've ever put together. There's 60 of them. I think there's 60. That sounds about right. 60, right? 60 emails. And they're going to teach you different concepts every single day. So again, you're going to be learning that. And then you've got all the other training, the 6 pillars, all of the different concepts within inside of the 6 pillars. So if you look at the 6 pillars, you're going to get hypnotic influence training. You're going to get the chi power training. You're going to get the meditation training, the mind portal. You're going to get the perception training, internal power centers, manifestation through all the different manifestation course I have, healing aspects. So again, your time commitment and length of commitment is not going to be confined to that 12 weeks. You're going to have access to the inner circle, which is massive in and of itself. You're going to get the quantum maximizer. You're going to have a lot of tools to deal with over the 12 months. The 12 weeks is going to be really focused. And then after the 12 weeks, you can start to bridge out, but the 12 weeks are designed to create a habit so that you can keep doing the 12 weeks over and over again. So the 12 weeks are not just 12 weeks. We do this 12 weeks, then the next 12 weeks, 12 weeks, 12 weeks. It creates a perfect pattern for your life. Perfect pattern for your life. Can you share more specific examples of results people have achieved in each of the 3 shifts? So, I mean, I've trained people from so many different backgrounds. Specific examples, I've taken salespeople from where they were like middle of the road sales reps to where they became superstar closers. Now, does that mean that I'm the best, sales closer in the world? No, but I understand the principles of execution and the principles of action and motivation and how to train your mind to focus on what it is you want. Believe it or not, it's not always technique. A lot of it comes down to the mindset, the actionable things that you can do. Now the techniques come in because then they give you confidence in order to do that. So I've helped individuals from that perspective. I've helped individuals that were in extremely bad situations with their health from the standpoint of sluggishness, tired, not getting good sleep at night, teaching them routines, meditations, formulas that can get their body to a state of total relaxation. So where they're getting really restful sleep at night, it totally changes their entire outlook in life, right? And then also assisting people with relationships. I think I mentioned one the other day is helping, one of my clients to bridge the gap from, being single to getting in a relationship and eventually getting married. Not only that, but earning more money on top of it. So those are some specific examples of how that could work. I mean, your situation is your situation, and you should figure out what that's going to look like because that's what you want. How does the double money back guarantee work exactly? What constitutes full implementation? It's very simple. The double money, it's not double money back guarantee. It's the triple lock guarantee. The triple lock guarantee is very simple. You take this program, you work it for the entire year, and if you don't get the prescribed results that we envision as we lay it out for you, you don't get those results, if after using all of the tools, all the resources, going through all the training and all the implementation, if you don't get the results, I give you your money back and $1,000. So it's not double your money back. I give you $1,000 extra for your time and effort. But anyone that's ever executed has gotten the results. I'm so confident that if you execute, you'll get the results. That's why I'm willing to do it. Now, there's been plenty of people that haven't actually executed, which I mentioned a little while ago. Just don't be one of those people. Why would you see the whole idea? Here's the thing is when you invest 1997, when you invest that in yourself, you're putting yourself on the line, you're taking a risk, and you're saying, I'm committing to get this done. And it's not so big of an investment that you look at it and you say, "Oh my," like this is like, I don't know how I'm going to live without this. I mean, it's not that much money. And if it is too much money, of course, then we have nothing to talk about because, like I said, I don't take blood money. But if you really want to get the results, $499.50 a month for 4 months is ridiculous. I mean, you spend that going to Target and Walmart probably, and out to dinner and various other uh, occurrences where you're not really getting anything back for that. So when you look at this, it's infinitesimal when you consider it and you match it against those kind of things, right? So you have to look at it from that perspective. But if you get involved with me, I say with me because we're going to be working together, is I don't fail. And so if I don't fail, you're not going to fail. Okay? If you have the wrong engagements coming in, that's a totally different story though. Right? So what if I have unusual circumstances or challenges that don't fit the typical pattern? Again, I don't know what that means. So I can't answer that question. I would have to see what your unusual circumstances are. I will say this: if you're extreme handicap or extreme overweight, or you have some kind of extreme circumstances like that, if you're in poverty, I'm not looking to get somebody out of poverty that's in poverty. I mean, I can do it if you pay me, you pay the fee to get in, invest it, I will assist you. But again, I probably wouldn't accept you because again, I would consider that blood money. Meaning you don't have the money. So again, but what I would suggest, and I'm happy to speak to you over the phone, is you got to find a career path, and you got to find a job. You got to find a way to earn money. Then we can talk later on. But I don't take people's money that really can't afford it. I don't need the money that bad. I really don't. So a couple more questions. What makes your precision micro mastery approach more effective than other transformation methods? Well, here's the thing. Micro mastery, and this is directly related to the emails that you get every day. Micro mastery is a concept that I developed because I knew that when I did little small chunks of learning, I got more from that than when I tried. Let's say, so for example, I'm giving a good example. So I took this course back in probably like 15 years ago, and the course was totally delivered by email. Totally delivered by email. And I was so excited every day to get those emails for that next layer of engagement. And I could read through the emails, and it was enough that I could plan it, I could review it, and I realized that this was a brilliant methodology. This person that created this program, this learning system, eventually did it like all the other training, which was boom, here it is. Like you'll get that somewhat with me, but with the micro mastery, I used to call it distilled learning. I now call it micro mastery. Distilled learning was really distilling the learning down into its smallest elements so that you could learn it rapidly. That's what micro mastery is. So it allows you to master very complex situations easier because we're chunking it down. Next question. I've only got like 4 questions left, so hang tight. How is the Mind Force method different from traditional coaching or consulting? How is it different? Well, number one, I can't really speak about uh, traditional coaching or consulting because I don't know specifically what you mean or who you're talking about. So, and since I don't know most of like how people do their own coaching, I can't really comment. But what you're getting with me, are getting me somebody that's been around for 20, 30 years, depending upon the the nuance that you're looking at. And I've trained thousands of people over the years. First starting in the energetics, the chi power, the quantum qigong, meditation, hypnotic influence, and then I was a business. I've been a business consultant for years. So I've got a wide background. And so what that allows me is experience with dealing with people from all different aspects. And I've also been where you're at. I mean, I've been financially under the gun several times, and I've worked my way out of it every time. I've also had relationship issues, which I mentioned on the workshop the other day. That's no mystery. That's a situation. I've had trauma, like many of you have had. So you and I are more like each other than we're different. And what I've condensed in the Mind Force method is a way to get you to be able to take action for whatever it is that you want to take action using esoteric methods. Esoteric methods being methods that aren't usually normally taught. Hypnotic influence, self hypnosis, esoteric meditations, energetic training that you're not going to find anywhere else, guaranteed. No question about it. You just won't find it anywhere else. What specific techniques or tools that you do I use that others don't? There's so many. And again, what others use, it's hard to say because if I haven't been through their program, I have no idea what they use. I know what we use, and I mentioned some of that. I showed you the pillars, and there's, I mean, just tons of courses that go through those pillars. And over $2,000 worth of courses that you're going to get. Hypnotic influence, energy. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, why are 2 week sprints more effective than other time frames for creating change? Again, this comes down to micro mastery. If we did a 30-day sprint, it's a long enough period of time that you lose focus. 2 weeks is 2 weeks. I mean, it's a short period of time. And so you can do anything for 2 weeks. I used to do 2 week sprints for like losing weight. If I was going on vacation, I'd do a 2 week sprint. I'd really go low carbs, low calories, added exercise for 2 weeks. That was a 2 week sprint. I also did the same thing with sales, 2 week sprint sale. For the next 2 weeks, I'm going to really go hog wild with sales. So the 2 week sprint, and again, maybe you could do a 1 week sprint, 3 week sprint, 4 week sprint, maybe, I don't know. But 2 weeks seems to me to be a very good compact period of time. It works very well into the 12-week process because you get these 2 week sprints throughout the time frame, and it just works very well. Is there something better? I don't know. Because we're also breaking it down daily with the plan do review. So, anyway, next question. Two more left. What qualifies you specifically to guide people through all three of these shifts rather than just specializing in one area? That's a great question. I think I've already answered it though, in many different ways. Here's what I say to everyone. If you're watching this and maybe you're considering, even if you're not considering it, you should set up a call with me. Like I said, it's part of the VIP system. If you don't set up the call, you're foolish because you're getting an opportunity to get some insights, to get a structure, get an idea. Listen, I'm not here to convince you to invest, in yourself because you have to make that decision because you want to get better, right? And if you don't want to get better, I can't force you. I can't force you. So you have to look at it from that perspective. And the thing is, when you speak to me over the phone, you're going to get a better understanding because we're going to talk about you. We're not talking about a massive amount of people or generalities. We're going to talk specifically about your deal. And you'll know at the end of that conversation if I'm somebody you want to work with. And if you get done and you say, hey, you're not my cup of tea, that's fine. And maybe, you know, I don't really see eye to eye with you. And I'm like, and I believe me, I've done that. I can't tell you how many people I've stopped coaching because I just didn't get along with them. For not that I don't get along with, I get along with everybody, but they were not adhering to what we were doing. And I don't like to, like I said, I don't fail. So if I get the feeling that I want your success more than you do, you've got to prove to me that you want this, that you want results. I'm not going to do more work for you than you are. I can promise you that. This is a relationship that's working at the same level. Last question. Let's see. That was the last question. That was the last question. That was I think about 15 or 20 questions. So hopefully I got those answered for you, give you an understanding. Like I said, the best thing you should do if you don't automatically sign up for the the system, 12 weeks, is give me a call. Whether you're considering coming on into the coaching program, or whether you're considering just having a conversation to see where you're at, and maybe I can make some suggestions on either other courses of mine or maybe even somebody else's program that maybe fits you better. That's why I say just have the phone call or the Zoom call, regardless. I mean, we could do phone or Zoom. I always do Zoom when it's out of the country because it's just easier. But take a look at this. Take a look at this. Again, mindforcemethod.com. mindforcemethod.com/power shift. Just like it sounds. And that's where you'll find that. And hopefully you'll invest in yourself and finally, maybe for the first time in your life, get the results that you desire, the results you deserve. Like I said, you can put down $499.50. Go the first 30 days. And in the first 30 days, if we don't get you the results you think you should, then don't continue with the rest of the program. I'm not going to refund your $499.50. The triple lock guarantee is based on you taking it for the entire year and getting massive results. Because if you can't get massive results in a year, 30 days is kind of short. That's why when people say, a 30-day guarantee, it doesn't really mean anything because sometimes you might not get 100% results in 30 days. And I don't want to play that game. Okay. But I'll give you a whole year. We're going to change your life in the next 12 months. And if we don't, after you follow all the moves, I'll give you all your money back and I will give you $1,000. I don't think you can get any more fair than that. But, that's it. So think about the risk stuff that I was talking about. Think about these 3 tectonic shifts. Do the grading, the scale of 1 to 10. Where are you at? Which shift do you need to work on the most? And then, even if you're not working with me, what's your game plan? You want to give me a call, say, hey, this is what I think I need to do. And I'll take a look at it and say, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Or, hey, have you thought about this or whatever? You got to come to the table expecting results. You got to come to a training like this with an expectation that you're going to get something out of it, and then you got to follow through. Because the fact of the matter is, even this training today, which I think, is probably pretty good. I think it should have helped a number of you out. But here's the truth. Unless you took good notes, right? Unless you took really good notes, unless you watch it again, you're going to forget this real quick. You'll forget it real quick. In fact, by next week, you might not even know what all the 3 tectonic shifts are unless you're working with them. You won't know any of the constructs I talked about today unless you're working with them. Because life gets in the way. You've got it. That's why you got to focus in this 12-week period of time. That's why you get a coach and a mentor, somebody that can say, okay, here's what we're doing, not based on what I'm suggesting you do, but based on what you're suggesting you do, based on what your goals and intentions are. Not mine. I'm just here to guide you. You tell me you want to do X, Y, Z. That's my goal, is to help you get X, Y, Z. I'm not going to tell you you need to do X, Y, Z because that's not me. That's you. But when you show me where you want to go, we're gonna map it out, and we'll map it out pretty easily. I hope you got some great um, information in this. I mean, I answered all the questions that were sent in. Too bad we couldn't do it live. It happens. Like I said, when in doubt, reroute. That's an old martial arts expression. We should say, man, when in doubt, reroute. If you're in one technique and you have to move it and roll into another, that's what you got to do. But that's it. I've enjoyed sharing. Again, reach out to me. Set up a call. Let's have a conversation. Let's lay out what you're looking to do or not do. You might say, hey, I just like going to these workshops to learn some stuff. Hey, that's cool. In that case, don't even set up a call because you don't need to. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for sending in the questions. I'll see you on the other side.